First is industrial fluid power, mechatronics, automation, robotics. These are the two labs in the mechanical department. We set up this lab in Andhra Pradesh, Dhanikula Institute, and Andhra Loyola College is our user. Okay, there Dhanikula College having mechatronics lab. Okay, and in Telangana, VNR Vijayati is the user of automation studio software like Sasi College, Aditya College. These are the college using this automation studio software. Now we are also having the power electronics, electrical machine, electrical drive. These are the labs, list of the labs that we are having. Okay, these are some deliverables of our mechatronics lab. So in the mechatronics and industrial fluid power lab, from the basic means from hydraulic trainer kit, electro hydraulic trainer kit, electro-pneumatic kit, mechatronics sensor trainer kit, from the basic to the high end, from the robotic cell, ZMFMS. These are our this type of lab where expertise in the setup. Okay, and these are some of our credentials. We are present in government institute, MSME tool rooms. Okay, DT Maharashtra, DVT Maharashtra, SDCT Goa, in the TechCube colleges also, HAL Training Academy, FCRI, Fluid Control Research Institute, FTI. Okay, so these are our credential. We are present in all the TechCube colleges. Okay, so MSME we are also present there. Now today we are going to see the Flonic software which addresses your thermal domain. Now I would like to request Vishwanath sir to please share your screen and please showcase the Flonix software to our faculties so that they can understand how they can use this software for thermal domain, how they can conduct the practicals of thermal engineering, refrigeration, air conditioning. So please Vishwanath sir, take over this session.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible sir.
So, a very good afternoon to all of you present. So, my name is Vishwanath Mahapatra. So, today I am going to take a session on Flonex, which is, as Megha said, it is a thermal fluid system. So, now I am going to start the session. So before going through the all the case studies like Megha was mentioning, all of the like vapor compression systems, all those heat exchanger systems, and I have also received a syllabus from Megha. So what I am going to do now, I will give a quick introduction about Flonex. Then we will start one by one. We will go through each cases. So now I am starting. So Flonex, what is Flonex? So Flonex simulation environment is a thermal fluid network simulation tool for system, subsystem and component simulation. So actually Flonex, it is a South African tool which was initially developed in the year 1986. So what sets apart Flonex from its competitor is it's widely validated and verified. It has also ISO 9001 accreditation. Plus, it is also approved by the nuclear National Nuclear Center of South Africa, and mm, so Flonex can rapidly solve many problems that other fluid thermal network solver currently are unable to solve. So how Flonex is basically a 1D CFD tool. So actually the calculation time compared to a 3D CFD tool, which calculates all the results along the three axes, it will obviously take more time, solving time, but Flonex reduces that problem, that complexity, as it is only calculating the results in the direction of flow at the nodes. So graphical user interface providing access to not only a powerful and robust flow solver, but also an electrical and DCS library and the ability to add on your libraries and components. So actually the Flownex is a GUI based tool, means graphical user interface based tool, means it will be like a drawing page. So we have the library components library where all the means flow components, the DCS components, mean distributive control systems, mean if you want to apply some logic to a certain system, then you can also do that. Then you can also do electrical modeling. So, and also it has a it gives you the liberty to customize components according to your own requirement. So this is what Flownex allows you to do. So fundamentally understand your plant or system and what makes the biggest difference in performance. So what can you do? You can virtually simulate whole your plant. It will be like a carbon copy result of whatever is happening in real time. It will show you via the simulation, and you can monitor the critical parameters of the plant like pressure, temperature, all the critical parameters you can monitor, and you can check actually where your plant's performance is getting hampered or where there is a scope for improvement in the performance. Then that's why it will lead to optimum performance and cost effective plant system design. Means it is before the procurement, means erection and commissioning of the plant. You in by using Flownex, you can check your design criteria whether in this design criteria I am getting the optimum performance of my plant, or shall I, or according to the output of the result, shall I do some modification and shorten the time it takes to design and build plants. So it will give you an overall means idea of the nature and the performance of the plant and also the network of the plant. So by this it will create an imaginary picture of the plant. By this it will be easy. Then investigate and develop optimal plant operation, the first I mentioned now, and also maintenance strategies. Then the decision making also becomes very easy because of the results we analyze. Then distinguishing features of the Flownex are its superior modeling capabilities. Means using Flownex, you can model complex networks in a easy way. So it gives you a liberty that with basic understanding you can approach the modeling. And simple, user friendly, and yet expandable modeling environment, means it has a lot of components in its library. It's user friendly, but you can, its library is vast, so there is hardly any restriction or limitation to the modeling system or subsystem modeling you want to do in Flownex. Then it is powerful design analysis and optimization techniques. So there are some features in Flownex which are used only specifically for the design purpose, then for analysis purpose, and also for the optimization techniques. Then allows fundamental understanding of complete plant system behavior with dynamic simulation capabilities. So we can simulate both the steady state behavior and also the transient behavior of a plant. Steady state behavior means where there won't be any changes of the critical parameters of the plant with respect to time. So at that point we can say that the plant is running under steady state condition. But in transient condition, what we do, that if some action is initiated, like suppose there is a power plant, boiler is tripped. So in that case, how it is going to affect my whole system? So those things also Flownex gives you the liberty to analyze. Then these are the key technologies: simultaneous integrated simulation of incompressible fluid networks, then compressible fluid networks, two-phase fluid networks, incondensable fluid networks, sorry fluid networks, Slurry means in plants means the mixture of, let's say, water and coal particles. So that makes a slurry. So you can also design and simulate those complex fluids in Flownex. Then gas mixtures, heat transfer, mechanical systems, control systems, electrical systems, all these things can be simulated using Flownex. Then its user friendly techniques, as I mentioned, full steady state and transient capability. Then simple and small to large and complex networks can be simulated. Models are rapidly constructed using drag and drop. So what it is a graphical user interface. We'll simply drag the components on the canvas and we will start modeling. Then automatic reporting, then ability for users to create composite components to build reusable components or systems. Then advanced visualization capability to allow users to understand and non-expert users to interact with simulations. Means it is the R&D part. Like if we want to analyze a system, like at a certain point how the pressure is fluctuating, so there what I can visualize it by plotting that pressure value on a graph. So Flownex also allows you we us to do that. So this is the graphical user interface, how it will be like. This is my drawing page. So where I am going to do all the network modeling, and I will do the network system subsystem modeling by using components. This is my components library. At the right hand side you can see. So components library. From components library I can drag the components up onto my drawing canvas. Then I can use that and simulate. And here it will show you the errors and warning. Means if you have put some unrealistic inputs, then it will show you here. Then what set Flownex from other system tools? So its widest array of combined flow and heat transfer types available in both steady state and dynamic solutions. So combined flow means you can see, you can simulate a flow of almost every fluid using Flownex. And heat transfer also, the heat transfer library of the Flownex is also very vast and extensive. So there are almost every type of heat exchangers are available. So you can use them to model according to your need. Then deep integration with Excel to form part of simulations and do pre and post processing. So what you can do, whatever the result you are getting, you can also import those results in Excel format for your use. Full set models for typical components, but also easy to customize and extend with scripts. So there is a script component in is there. So you can, if you are good in programming, let's say it uses C sharp language. So you by giving some codes in C sharp, using the script component, we can also assign some inputs. It will be assigned as an input to the uh, to our model, and it will give the output. The result will be according to the script, means the code, the algorithm we have mentioned. Then it is easy to integrate with other tools like ANSYS, ANSYS Fluent, ANSYS Structural, ANSYS CFX, LabVIEW, EES, MathCAD, OPC, AutoCAD. Means it has a feature that allows you to co-simulate whatever your Flownex results that you can import to any other software environment So Flownex has gives you that liberty. So these are the Flownex users in India. So IGCAR, Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, which is situated at Kalpakam, Tamil Nadu, they use it for their reactor development part. Then BHEL also uses it. BHEL, Bharat Heavy Electrical Cell Limited, Bengaluru, they use it for their system and subsystem simulation, mainly for power plant related thermal systems. Then IISc Bengaluru is using Flownex to develop supercritical CO2 cycle. Then IIT Madras, IIT Mumbai, IIT Kharagpur, JNTU Hyderabad, JNTU Kakinada, BITS Goa, BITS Pilani Hyderabad, GEC Kozhikode, CUK Gulbarga. These all institutions are using Flownex for academic purpose, means to validate some research papers. Let's say to develop something, they're conducting some experiment, then they're using this to validate their whatever they are getting, the output they are getting from the experiment, they are using for Flownex. And you can also develop case studies for academic purpose, case studies which are related to thermodynamics, then let's say heat transfer, then let's say power plant. So case studies and problem statements can be created according to our own specification, and those can be simulated in Flownex. So these are the modules of the Flownex. So modules means Flownex comes in package according to the customer's need. So we have first basic thermal fluid module. Then fluid modules are like liquid, gas mixtures, incondensable, slurry, two-phase, trace element. Then advanced fluid modules. Then design and analysis module. Suppose you need the tool for R&D purpose, means research and development. You need to optimize something, or for designing purpose, you can this design and analysis module comes into picture. Then transient module, then nuclear module, especially used by the nuclear power plants, who use this to study the behavior of reactors and all those things. Then control module means our DCS library. Then electrical module, so which will also give you the electrical components. Then API module, then application programming interface module, then extendability module, means you can, the coupling means you can extend your Flownex results to some other software environment, simulation environment. So these are our uh, physics or components module. Then fluid module, in fluid module, then solvers, then flow solver, transient solver, extendability, then tools. These are the tools which are used for the designing, let's say optimization, let's say for analysis, then results, to configure alarms and malfunctions. So all these tools are there. Then integration and automation. So for integration and automation, we have API, then OPC, open platform communication, then relap coupling is there, then ESS coupling is there, then MathCAD coupling is there. Means you can couple your Flownex model to any of these third party softwares. Then, so now I am going to, I have been provided a syllabus. So I am going to go by that syllabus now. So this was all about Flownex. Now I will start the modeling part of it. just let me just wait for 1 second. Let me go to the syllabus now. So now we will first go through a vapor compression refrigeration system, and its performance, coefficient of performance we will calculate at the last. So I will show you how a vapor refrigeration system is modeled using Flonix. So as we all know, just let me go through the problem statement first so that it will be easy for you to. So this is a vapor compression refrigeration system. So this case study demonstrates the modeling of a vapor compression refrigeration system using R22 as refrigerant. So both a steady state and a transient simulation will be performed on the system. Then the challenge is to the primary objective of the simulation is to determine the steady state performance of the system given the design of all the components together with appropriate boundary conditions. Then the secondary objective is to investigate the dynamic performance. So I will focus on the primary objective in this case only. So this is how a vapor compression refrigeration system typically operates. So first we have a compressor in which a slightly superheated refrigerant, in this case we are using R22, is compressed to a high pressure and temperature. Then it is allowed to extract its heat in a condenser. So after extracting all the heat in the condenser part, what happens? First it is sensibly cooled, means its temperature is gradually decreased. Then it will be condensed, means it will change its phase from gas to liquid, the refrigerant R22. Then finally it will be subcooled in this condenser part. Subcooled means its temperature will go down below saturation temperature. Then we will allow that to the expansion valve to expand it through a expansion valve. There is a pipe also. So here there will be a significant amount of pressure drop will be there in the expansion valve, and then there is a evaporator which will again increase its steam potential, and again the refrigerant will go to compressor, and thus the cycle will be completed. So these are the my inputs, like pipe for input boundary conditions, inputs and boundary conditions. So for positive displacement compressor, I have all my data like swept, what will be my swept volume, then ratio of dead volume to swept volume, then the rotational speed of the compressor, then how many stages are there, then what is my efficiency of the compressor. Then similarly for condenser, all the data are available, like what will be the condensation temperature, then water inlet temperature in the secondary side, means the fluid which will carry out the heat from the refrigerant, then the water inlet pressure, then the refrigerant outlet pressure, outlet quality, also all these things are specified. Then pipe, then the evaporator, which is also a heat exchanger like condenser. So this will be our something the model is looking like. Yeah, so now I will explain this, how it is modeled in Flonix and how the COP is calculated. So first here we have the positive displacement compressor. So we will start the modeling generally from our inlet boundary condition. So it has said that a superheated refrigerant, slightly superheated saturated refrigerant enters our positive displacement compressor at around 505 kilopascal and 8.7 degrees Celsius. So first of all, what I will do, I will take this compressor. Before that, I will uh, start the, I will assign the boundary condition over there. Like, okay, in this component, my refrigerant is going to flow. So what should be its pressure and temperature? So this is my inlet boundary condition. So it is 505 kPa and 8.7 degrees Celsius. Then it goes to the condenser side. Here, actually, what happens? The fluid in the primary side, it is a plate 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 type heat exchanger. So in the, if you see in the components library, you can see all the heat exchangers here. So there are many heat exchangers available like bulk air cooler, cooling tower, evaporator, then fin tube heat exchanger, then heat exchanger primary, heat exchanger secondary. Then here we are using this component, plate heat exchanger primary and plate heat exchanger secondary, to model the primary and secondary side. So in the primary side, we have refrigerant R22 as the fluid, and here we are giving the specifying the inputs like what is the heat transfer area, means the surface area of the plate type heat exchanger. Then what is the fluid path length? Fluid path length means how much distance actually the fluid is covering while it is transferring the heat to the secondary side. Then number of increments means it will segregate the total length in 20 incremental lengths, and it will calculate at the 20 points. Then wall thickness, then material option, we can specify our wall conductivity and heat capacity if known, or we can also select the specific material from the, we have a library, material library. So we can specify the material according to our need. So in this case, since it is specified, so we have specified in this case, then flow data, inlet hydraulic diameter, outlet hydraulic dia and area, then the losses like primary losses and secondary losses we can specify here. Then the heat transfer, so it will be convection, it has been selected. Convection coefficient will be calculated here. So it will take the Dietz-Boelter equation into while it calculates the coefficient, convection coefficient. Then fin efficiency we can specify. Then fouling factor. Then these are, means the system takes these inputs of zero flow Nusselt number, Reynolds number, all this by default. We can customize it according to our need. Then in the secondary side, water is flowing. So what here it is happening after it is gaining heat and temperature here. So we are providing that heat to, we are allowing that heat to be ejected to water which is flowing at the secondary side of the plate type heat exchanger. So here at ambient temperature and pressure, the water is flowing, and a mass of only minus 1.7. So the mass flow rate of the water flowing through the plate type heat exchanger is 1.7 kg per second. Then here is the pipe which is before the expansion valve. and it is our expansion valve. So here you can see that after while entering it has 505 kPa and 8.7 degrees Celsius of temperature and pressure. The refrigerant R22 has. But here after compression, its pressure and temperature increases drastically significantly to 1958.4 kilopascal and a temperature of 86.4 degrees Celsius. Then after condensation, according to our input, if you can see here, 50 degrees Celsius, let's say, yeah, condensation temperature is 50 degrees Celsius. So we are achieving 50 degrees Celsius. So this is output result. We are not assigning any boundary condition. Then it is allowed to flow through a pipe, and finally a restrictor with discharge coefficient, which is acting as the expansion valve of the refrigeration cycle. And again, after it expands, so obviously the pressure and temperature here you can see the pressure is 509 kilopascal and the temperature is around 0.7 degrees Celsius. So it loses the pressure and temperature potential. Then it is allowed to again regain heat energy from a evaporator. So this evaporator is also like primary and secondary side. It is modeled. No, in evaporator it evaporates, means it will again phase change will occur. So whatever, sorry, uh, uh, so in evaporator what will happen? So whatever the quality of the steam will be here, so that will be increased so that it will be completely vapor, because it will be again fed to the positive displacement compressor to complete the cycle, so it will continue in the same manner. So that's why in evaporator it will completely evaporate to its vapor state, then again via a pipe it will go to the compressor. So this is how a typical refrigeration vapor refrigeration cycle can be simulated using Flownex. So I will show how we so first we build the model, then so because I have a constraint of time and I have to cover so many of models, so I am giving you just the means I am not going that much in depth that how we model, but I am showing you the overview after the modeling. So now you will solve steady state now. Yeah, so normally what we do after modeling and specifying all the inputs, then all the boundary conditions, we go for the steady state condition. Means the solve, after clicking on solve steady state, it gives me the output that this is my pressure and temperature and whatever my result I want. So I can get after solving the steady state simulation. Then again, we will calculate the coefficient of performance of this cycle. So for that, here we can directly calculate the coefficient of performance manually, or here also we can calculate by using the quick quick script element. Sorry. So here what we have done, we have taken a quick script element. So here you can see there is an element known as quick script. Here, so we have used this to calculate the coefficient of performance. So what are the inputs we have given? We have given its two inputs. So the temperature after compression, that is our TH, means after gaining the heat, and also the temperature after evaporation. So according to the formula, the COP formula, here you can see the COP value equal to the evaporation, the temperature after evaporation divided by the temperature after compression minus temperature after evaporation value. So according to our specified formula, the system calculates the coefficient of performance for this model and gives us the results as COP is 3.24879437. Then we can also plot the TS diagrams, the temperature versus entropy diagrams, if we want to study or visualize it. So here 1 to 2 is my compressor, then 2 to 3 is the condenser, then this 3 to 4 is my pipe, then 4 to 5 is the evaporator, 4 to 5 is the expansion valve, sorry, again 5 to 6 is the evaporator. So this is how a typical vapor compression cycle is modeled using Flownex. So now I think I have explained to you the vapor compression cycle till now. So now okay, so now I will show you to how to build a basic means cycle from scratch, means how we normally approach the modeling. So I have selected another drawing page. So here what I am going to do, suppose I want to make, I will show you how I will show the flow of water. So how we approach the modeling. So I will select the pipe component from my components library. Then I will assign the boundary conditions. Let's say in this I am just normal water is flowing. It is a water channel. So here after assigning the only boundary conditions, but I haven't specified, kindly note that I haven't specified the values yet. I will assign the fluid now. Let's say I will assign use water here. Now I will also assign the pipe geometrical specifications. Let's say it is a pipe of length 2 meter. Its diameter is 0.1. Roughness, since we typically assume that the pipes mostly which are used are carbon steel, so we'll, let's say roughness we specify 45. Then there is no bends or forward, so there is no secondary loss. I haven't assigned it. So here I am specifying the pressure. Let's say The inlet pressure of the water is 500 kilopascal and the temperature is 40 degree. So this is my inlet boundary condition. So I will the system will assume that water is flowing from 540 degrees Celsius through a pipe of 2 meter length, 0.1 meter diameter to a point where the pressure is around 200 kilopascal. So for that, how much flow will happen, it will calculate according to the pressure drop specified. So now I will go for the steady state solution. So here, let me, so here you can see the system is predicting that according to the our inputs, the whatever the pressure and temperature values we have specified, and here also 200 kilopascal of outlet boundary means upstream, at the upstream of the pipe the pressure and temperature of the water is 500 kilopascal and 40 degrees Celsius, and at the downstream it is 200 kilopascal. So this is how we build models. So it is just to show you a basic how we can make the how we can model our networks. So we can model networks according to our inputs, means our needs. So if you go to the components library here, it's me. So I have only used here the pipe component. So you can see, I will just give you how many components are available there. So first we have the TCS library for applying control logic to our models. Then we have the electrical libraries like capacitors, impedance, induction. Then here is the flow solver. Here we can also model combustors because we have also adiabatic flames here. Then containers, open container, reservoir, vented container, container interface bottom, all these are available. Then these are the custom losses, means flow elements, flow resistance, general empirical relationship, then secondary loss. All these things can be modeled. Then there are flow meters like Miller's, like 3-degree half angle Venturi, all these things. Then discharge nozzles, then duct, then heat exchangers. So the then heat transfer means it is to the, if we have the specified data, then we can exactly use the heat exchangers from the components library, or else we can also show the heat transfer between two sites by using this. Suppose I want to show conduction, I can use this conduction. Then convection, all these are available here. Then mechanical like shafts, motors, gearboxes, friction losses, all these things. Then these are the pipe elements, flow elements like basic pipe, bends, insulated pipes, all these things. Then these are restrictors. Then these are rotating components, like if we want to show the swirl phenomena or vortex phenomena, we can also show them. Then turbos and pumps, here we have centrifugal pumps, compressors, then fans, then positive phase placement compressor as I showed you in the RAC cycle, then simple turbine, then turbine. Then these are the specific turbine ranges like high pressure steam turbine, intermediate pressure steam turbine, then low pressure steam turbine. Then we have also valves here. So using this, we can model networks according to our need. So now I will move ahead and go as per the syllabus. So this is how we approach our model. Uh, so let's say now I I want to just show you one thing. Just turbine flow I will show you. So there is turbine, and here I will take a flow resistance element. So it will act as my valve of the turbine. So I will show you one difference only. That's why I am modeling this, because here we only assigned pure fluid water, and here we will assign fluid water, but it will be in two phase. So I will assign my boundary conditions here. Then again I'll assign fluids. So here actually turbines actually they bear with high pressure and high temperature steam. So at in those stages, the flow which happens to the turbine, the water mainly is a mixture. It won't be pure liquid water, but it will be a mixture of water and steam. So in our library also we can specify that no, it will be two-phase fluid. Then here again I'll go and select water. So it is my then here I will assign the boundary conditions first. Let's say it's a power plant and its inlet, at the inlet the fluid pressure is 135 bar and the temperature is let's say 540 degrees Celsius. Then it is allowed to, it is our valve, let's say its admittance is 1, opening let me specify is at 0.5. Admittance means it will calculate the pressure drop and mass flow according to our input specified at admittance and opening.
Vishwanath sir, you are not audible. Hello?
Hello, am I audible?
Vishwanath sir, please
Yes.
present your screen again
Yeah,
one
yeah,
more
yeah.
time. Okay, you are
Actually,
audible, but please present your screen again.
yeah. Actually, there was some internet connectivity issue, so I am again.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah. So I am again.
Yes, your screen is visible now. Go ahead.
Okay. So I have specified here. Then here I will specify my inlet pressure conditions. So let's say there will be a drop of around 0.1 bar. So I will specify here. Sorry, it is, let's say 1 here. 1 bar, 134.9 bar. Here my and these are my design criteria. So I have specified here 540. So that's why I specified here that at design condition, the inlet temperature to the turbine is 540 degrees Celsius. Then pressure ratio is the ratio between the inlet pressure of the turbine to the outlet pressure of the turbine. So again, here let's say the outlet pressure of the steam from the turbine is 20 bar. So I will specify the pressure ratio as P1 by P2. That is my inlet pressure 134.9 divided by 20. Let's say 70 kg per second of steam flows through the turbine. So that will be my designed mass flow rate. Let's say the efficiency of the turbine is 0.915. So I will again specify it here. Then I will specify here speed means at in India our normally in all the power plants the synchronization speed is 3000 rpm. So I'm gonna specify that. So now I can see monitor my parameters like what is the mass flow through the valve and also what will be the total power output of my turbine. So now I'm going to solve steady state. So you can see it is producing around according to our specified inputs that's 70 kg. So through the valve 70 kg per second of steam is flowing through the valve to the inlet of the turbine. Then the power of the turbine is 34 megawatt, means the power the turbine produces to rotate the shaft is 34 megawatt. So this is how we will build according to our specific inputs we have available with us, or we are performing some experiments. So from the experimental data whatever we have, we can model in model Flownex networks according to that only. So now I will move ahead. I showed you the basics. Then now I will go to the heat exchanger part. So now there is a determination of overall heat transfer coefficient of a composite slab. So now I am going to show you the composite slab, how it is modeled using Flownex. My screen is visible now, everyone. You all can see my screen now. Now we will see a problem on composite wall. So the problem goes like this. So we have a problem to determine overall heat transfer coefficient and the temperature distribution across the width of a composite wall. So here, this case study demonstrates the heat transfer phenomena and thermal conductivity of an insulating material. It will be the composite slab. Then solution is Flownex was used to simulate a flow network. First, a steady state simulation was done, and the result of this simulation are as problem statement. So this is how a composite wall is like. So composite wall are mainly built for insulation processes, insulation purpose. When there is they are in like surrounded uh, at the circumference of the wall of a pipe, so that there will be minimal heat leakage or heat transfer to the surrounding. So this is how a heat transfer through a composite wall element looks like. So the heat input is Q. Then this is the temperature T1 to T2, T2 to T3, T4. Then this is the formula. In composite wall cases, we calculate the resistances, thermal resistance at each wall. Then by putting this heat transfer through composite, this overall heat transfer formula, we calculate the coefficient of heat transfer. So this is your problem statement. So in this pressure, high pressure and high temperature water flows through a pipe which is used for industrial application. The pipe is insulated by composite wall to reduce the heat transfer to its surrounding atmospheric air. Calculate the overall heat transfer coefficient at the and the temperature distribution across the width of the wall. The composite wall is made of industrial insulation like aluminum silica, then mineral fiber, then reinforced metal. So these are our boundary conditions, like what will be the high pressure and temperature water is flowing around 105 standard ATM and 540 degrees Celsius. Then the outlet pressure is 3.535 standard ATM. Then prime fluids here, two fluids are used. First water, two phase, then secondary side air is used. So now we will refer to the Flownex model and then come to the calculation part. So here, according to our input, so water, the inlet boundary condition of the water that is flowing inside the pipe is 105 standard ATM and 540 degrees Celsius. So after building the network, the boundary condition is specified, inlet boundary condition. In the same manner, the outlet boundary condition of the water means the downstream pressure of the water, 35 standard ATM is specified. Then the pipe's geometrical input data like 2 meter length, 0.1 meter diameter, and then roughness 30 meter. So the flow part is done. Now we'll design the composite wall. So for that, we'll select the composite heat transfer element. So this is the element which is used here. So I will show you now how this composite wall configuration was done in this heat transfer element. So first, we will specify the areas, conduction and convection, all those things. Let's say the upstream area surface is 0.5. Then here you can see the option layers. Layers means how many layers of material are present in this composite heat transfer elements. So here you can say click here to edit and remove. So here in layer 0, you can see here thickness in element direction means that's the wall thickness, and thickness in cross direction means the length of the pipe. Then the number of nodes, then area downstream surface, then material options, then conductivity. So material is selected from the datas we have available in the here in this Flownext library. The materials are available. You can click on any material you want to use and use it. Okay. Then similarly, layer 1 by specifying the wall thickness, the cross direction, the number of nodes, area. Then similarly the material. Then another cement layer specifying the inputs. So three layers of the composite wall is configured like in this manner. Then we have atmospheric air at the outlet. So it is the this temperature is high because it is the air just surrounding the wall. So here I will solve steady state here. So like this a composite wall was configured. Then here one thing we'll see in the pipe element. So this is how typically a composite wall will be simulated using Flownext. Now I will go to that result part, how we use this for practical calculations. So here we will calculate the amount of heat transfer first. How much amount of heat is transferred. So for that we will put the formula for composite wall. Then from that our heat transfer is calculated. It comes around 1738 watt. Then here, so the coefficient, overall heat transfer coefficient is U equal to Q by A into temperature upstream minus temperature downstream. So by applying this formula, we get our coefficient as 34.053 watt per meter square Kelvin. So this was a typical example of a how to design a composite wall, the heat transfer through a composite wall using Flownext. So now I will cover the uh, heat transfer, all the heat transfer phenomena. So I think there are a lot of case studies in this syllabus related to heat transfer. So it won't be uh, possible for me to cover one by one. So I will give you an overall idea of how we model heat exchangers using just one sec. just, yeah. So now we are good to go. So now I'll go through the heat exchangers one by one. So here it is a simple conduction heat transfer phenomena. It has been shown here. So we have water is flowing at a temperature of 400 kilopascal and 10 degrees Celsius. And we can at the downstream, it is specified minus 10 kg per second. So at the downstream, we can specify either pressure or mass source. When we specify pressure at the downstream, like in this case, so we didn't specify the mass source here, mass flow rate. So the system gave us the mass flow rate as output. But in this case, if you can see, here we have specified mass source as minus 10 kg per second. Minus 10 kg per second. So this will show you, this means the solver will take it as input that, okay, in this case, my mass flow rate is going to 10 kg per second. Then here 25 degrees Celsius we have specified. Then here, like in that case, I show you. So here I will only tell you how to configure a conduction heat transfer element. So similarly, we will specify the area, then thickness in element direction means the wall thickness of means the configuration of layers means the tubes inside this conduction heat transfer. Then here, so here it is a conduction case, you can see. So from the results tab, we can go and we can see all the heat transfer after solving our network. First, we will configure it by applying our inputs like whatever the surface area, then how much tubes are inside it, then what is the capacitance, conductivity of the material of the heat transfer, then how the heat transfer phenomena gonna take place. Here convection is happening in upstream adiabatic means there is no exchange of energy. So in same manner, here you can see the conduction heat transfer, what it is here, it is our result as output. Similarly, this is just a simple network. So we can also model some complex networks like this, like a reservoir is there. From reservoir, the reservoir's pressure and temperature is 85 kilopascal and 10 degrees Celsius. Then it is the mass source, the mass flow rate is 10 kg per second. So again, ambient from the ambient air, the heat is transferred. So means such systems can be modeled by Flownex. So this is a typical example of a cascaded model. This was the single, so this one is another one. Then, so these are some experiments which are solved using our means some specified inputs were there, and this is nothing. So this is a normal heat exchanger. So this is heat exchanger from primary side to the heat exchanger to the secondary side. So here water is flowing from at around 1.1 bar 35 degrees Celsius to minus 0.66. So the mass flow rate is 0.6 kg per second. So it takes heat from, I think this one, from it nonin, means another a liquid known as nonin, which is a hydrocarbon that is flowing in the secondary side, which is giving heat to the primary side. So like this, here it is, we have only the correlation it is using for the pressure equal to Ck, beta and alpha values. And we are only specify the effectiveness. So according to our input, it will calculate. So in same manner, some examples were solved. Then I will show you now the plate heat exchanger. So here we have air. So here we have a air flow. Just hold for it. We can do it later. First, let me go through the simple, and at the last I will show you that. So it is a fin type. So here air is flowing at inlet of 0.92 bar. Temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. Then we have a fan which has a heat input of 0.2 kilowatt and it has efficiency of 0.88. So it compresses the air. The fan carries the air. It goes to a heat exchanger. Then that heat is again, here it is a fin type heat exchanger. So there is a component known as fin tube heat exchanger in the library. So one is for primary side and one is for secondary side. So for primary side this one and for secondary side this one. So these two elements are used here, and here the inputs are specified. What will be the heat exchanger's width, depth, means the fluid path length, means through how many, means how much length the fluid is going to cover. Then the height of the exchanger, then fin geometry, then what is the fin's outside diameter, fin thickness, fin pitch, then number of passes, parallel circuits, number of increments, then from which material the fin is made of. All these things are specified here. Similarly, the secondary side also is modeled. Sorry. So in the secondary side, it will be just like your pipe. So we have to specify inside diameters. Then the heat transfer option means how the heat will be transferred. So it will be convective heat transfer. So that we need to specify here. Then according to the equations which are running in the background in the solver, we will get our output. Sorry. So this much amount of heat, here convection coefficient is given in the result, then Nusselt number. Then here you can see how much heat is transferred, energy and heat transfer variables. So you can drag this and see how much heat is transferred. So these are some problems. This is a fin type heat exchanger. Then again this is a plate type heat exchanger. It has similarly like your uh, uh, your primary and
Bishwanath sir, you're not audible. Hello? Hello, Bishwanath sir, you're not audible. Yes, now audible.
now I am audible.
Yes, yes, yes.
My you can
Bishwanath
also
sir,
still
yes, participant, if you have any queries, you can unmute yourself and ask Bishwanath sir, or you can just put that in the chat box.
yeah. So now I am going ahead. So similarly, we can whatever the configuration of the downside means the secondary side we can also configure. Then this so we overall saw a fin tube, then plate type heat exchanger. Now we'll see cell and tube side. So for cell and tube side, this is the cell tube heat exchanger means which are used typically in power plants for feed water heaters. All those are normally cell and tube heat exchangers, and which are used widely in for industrial applications are normally the cell and tube heat exchanger. So we can also model the cell and tube heat exchangers. So this is the cell side, this is the tube side. So in tube side, our feed water will flow, and cell side, whatever the extraction we take from, let's say, a stage of turbine, so that will uh, means exchange heat, so that the potential of the feed water is increased without putting extra effort on the boiler. So this is the typical application of a cell and tube heat exchanger. So in the cell side, in the similar way, we are going to configure the area, the material we have to select. Similarly, means what material the cell is built of. Then in tube side also you can specify. Then this is a normal heat exchanger. So this is how normally we are going to configure the heat exchanger all phenomena according to our need. But normally what we do in the most of the cases, we use this composite heat transfer element because of its flexibility to be used in every case. So suppose here you can see here is a cell side and tube side is there. So if I don't have these data, how can I model? Means to model so much data is required. Here you can see it's total geometrical data, everything, then bundle width of every tube bundles. So normally if I don't have an data, simply what I can do, I can select a two-phase tank. Means I am only showing you how I am going to model it. I won't be solving it because I have to also move forward. I will only show how we can replace this. So let's say we have a now we'll specify the composite heat transfer element. Now let's say there is a pipe. So now I am only showing you superficially. I am not going to solve it. So I am not assigning any boundary condition or any fluid. So you can see this two-phase tank will act as the cell side of the heat exchanger. Then my pipe here here is a option number in parallel, means how many tubes are there. I can specify the number of tubes only. Then only by configuring this composite heat transfer element, we can also simulate a cell and tube heat exchanger instead of using this. So this is the flexibility of the composite heat transfer and why it is widely used. So now I am going to move forward. So now I think I have covered almost all the aspects of the heat transfer phenomena which was mentioned in the syllabus. So now I will move forward. This pin, metal, everything I think I covered. Now determination of Stefan-Boltzmann constant I will show you. Okay, then I am moving ahead. I will show you the Stefan-Boltzmann constant problem. Sorry. So Stefan-Boltzmann constant, it can be calculated where radiative heat transfer takes place. So for that, I will go again to that problem statement. I first want to show you. So this is a little bit theory about radiation and what is the Stefan-Boltzmann constant. So it is normally 5.67 into 10 to the power 8 watt to meter inverse 2 and the temperature Kelvin inverse 4, Kelvin to the power minus 4, the temperature to the power minus 4. So E is the emissivity. So the Stephen Boltzmann constant, which is denoted by sigma, can be uh, found out by using this formula. So this is a little bit theory. I'm not going to go in depth to that. So this is the main working formula. So from here we can calculate the sigma by dividing the total heat transfer by to the fourth power of the temperature of the emission, absolute temperature to the area of the plate. Then this is the calculation. We will look into it after we understand how the Stephen Boltzmann constant was calculated. So here it is a flame, but actually it is a pictorial, just a pictorial representation. It is nothing but a node. So how I can do this? I'll go to the node. Then here you can see display type. So I can choose configuration or choose image. So here I am going to, if that would be available in my library, it will come here. Yeah. So here that in my project database, that flame is there. So this is how I configured a node like a flame. So let's say now we'll go to the, what is the temperature and condition. So around 1250 degrees Celsius means it's basically specifies a combustion, means sorry, after combustion the temperature is basically around 1250 degrees Celsius. So that is specified here. Here we have a component known as surface radiation. So here what we can do, we can simply specify the areas and emissivity in upstream and downstream of this surface radiation element. So it will calculate the radiative heat, which is again transferred to a network where water is flowing, water is entering at the inlet around 1.2 bar to 20 degrees Celsius and going out at 1 bar. So you can see here the radiation heat is applied. So here at 20 degree it is flowing. Here after the radiation and radiation heat is applied here, its temperature becomes 92 degrees Celsius. So this is how a radiation model was modeled, means to calculate the Stephen Boltzmann constant. So this is basically surface radiation component which is available in the Flownex library, which is used to model the Stephen Boltzmann constant. Then here we have the calculation. So as I had mentioned, then first we will go to the model, then calculation. So here the total amount of the heat is now heat which is gained by the water after the radiation heat transfer takes place. That is calculated by the formula mCp dt. So m is the mass flow, then Cp is the specific heat of water, which is 4.187. Then dt is the temperature difference. So I showed you there. It enters at a temperature of 92 degrees Celsius. Sorry, at 20 degrees Celsius, and after gaining heat from radiation, it becomes 92 degrees Celsius. So by this formula, the heat is we get is 3.04156 megawatt. So here we will apply the Stefan Boltzmann constant here. So applying this formula and solving the equations, applying the absolute temperature, then the what is the absolute means 1250 degrees Celsius, it will be in Kelvin only, plus 273. So it's to the power 4, then into mass flow rate. So by solving this problem, we get sigma equal to 5.6532 into 10 to the power minus 8 watt per meter square, temperature to the power 4. So this is very pretty close. We get 5.65 from our experimental calculation, which is very close to 5.6703 into 10 to the power minus 8 watt per meter square, Kelvin to the power 4. So this is a typical example of radiative heat transfer phenomena and how to calculate the Stefan Boltzmann constant. So now let me see what is present there with me right now. So similarly, the emissivity can be calculated by applying the same formula, just by simulating a radiation heat transfer phenomena. So now I'll go. I think I have covered the heat transfer till now. So similarly, if you have the syllabus, you can see also. So critical heat flux, then thermal conductivity, all these can be applied by simulating the heat transfer phenomena and applying the suitable and right formula. Okay, so now I am going to conclude. So before that, I have only one regarding to the flow fluid mechanics. So I will show you just a centrifugal pump and how we determine the friction factor of a given pipeline. So these two from the fluid mechanics module I am going to cover. So let me friction factor. Yes sir. Okay. नहीं नहीं. Okay then. So now I will show you only two, friction factor and this reciprocating centrifugal pump. Just let me. So similarly, we'll open it. So this is the model. First we will go to the how we will calculate the friction factor. So the pipe element in FlowNext can be used to model flow in pipes and ducting with non-constant arbitrary cross-sectional area. It takes friction and secondary losses into account. In dynamic simulations, pressure waves due to sudden changes in boundary conditions can be modeled. So what type of fluid it can handle, the pipe can handle. So it can handle gas, liquid and two-phase also. Then both for steady state and transient it can be used. Then with regard to gas and two-phase fluids, it can solve up to a Mach number of 1. Means the flow velocity should be in such that the Mach number should be around 1. Then the gravitational effects are taken into account. Then with regards to transient flows, the inertia terms are retained in the calculations. The user is able to subdivide the pipe into a number of increments. Then provision is made for orifices and secondary loss components such as valves and vents. Then this is the formula, the Darcy-Weisbach equation, which is used to calculate the friction factor. So this is the total pressure drop for a steady state incompressible flow in a pipe, and the primary loss is calculated by the Darcy-Weisbach method. So the pressure loss will be the FL by D, where F is my friction factor, L is the length of the pipe, D is the diameter, then rho is density, then V is the velocity, then K is equal to forward loss coefficient, then del Z is the potential height difference between inlet and outlet. Then this sigma K is equal to sum of the loss coefficients of secondary loss components like vents, valves and junctions. Then Kr is the loss coefficient of a sharp edge orifice. So this is the formula, and here we can simply in different flow range, means if it is laminar flow, means the Reynolds number is below 2300, then we can simply find the formula by friction factor equal to 64 by Reynolds number. Similarly, the friction factor for turbulent flow can be given by this formula. Then this is the component. So this is how our model is going to look like. So graph between, this is the Modis diagram. So here only the friction factor is shown in the calculation is not done, but it is shown in a visualization in a graphical way, that with the increase in the length of the pipe, the friction factor first it starts decreasing, then with the increase of length of the pipe, the friction factor is also increasing. Means the friction factor is monitored at incremental lengths. Incremental length means suppose I have a pipe of length 10 meter and I am giving the number of increments as 10. So the system will take it that there are pipes of 1 meter length, similar pipes of 1 meter length each. So like this, the friction factor is calculated here. So this is the model. So whatever the data is, those are taken from these models. The geometrical data is, then from the results we can take the all those Reynolds number, all these things will be available in result. So by putting the whatever the input and also the geometrical data according to the formula, we can obtain our friction factor by Darcy-Weisbach method. So this was a model for friction factor, determination of friction factor of pipe. Then I will show you a pump, how to model a pump. So after that I will end my session. Let me open. Model pump course. Means how to model a pump in Flownex. Now I'm going to show you. So now here is a flow. We are using a basic centrifugal pump. So there is a component known as centrifugal pump, sorry, basic centrifugal pump in the, oh sorry, I am in the wrong library now. Just pardon me. Yeah. Yeah. So here, when we use this component, we can specify the head, the NPSH available, then the volume flow, then the speed, then the speed options. Means we can specify the speed or specify speed ratio. So here we can specify the speed also. So actually in this pump, we can simulate a pump like this pump here. Water is flowing from the inlet is 10 bar, the outlet is 1 bar and 20 degrees Celsius. Here in this pump, it is flowing. So this is one pump where we can directly means if we know the particular speed of a pump, we can directly use it. But for transient and means automatic performance of a pump, and if I am in most of the industries, the pumps which are used, the manufacturers of the pump also provide a pump curve to its customers. So we'll also know. So for that, there are two types of pumps. So this is one type, centrifugal pump. Here we can directly specify the head and speed. Then again, so we use this for different applications because of the flexibility it gives to use a pump in throughout a operational range. So here the speed is fixed, but here by assigning a curve, let's say there is a pump curve here. So I will show you what a pump curve means. So pump curves are nothing. Pump curves are the curves which are used to specify the operating range of a pump. So let's say a pump. I have a pump which is operating over a range of speed from 0 to 2900. So that can be simulated, and at those speeds what will be my volume flow, means whatever my mass flow is there, by divided by 1000 we will get our volume flow, and according to our corresponding volume flow how much pressure rise will occur in the pump. So in like this we can plot points, different points at a certain speed, operating speed of the pump at different speeds also. So let's say this is the pressurized data. Let's say here we have selected RPM pump at 14. If the pump rotates at 1450 RPM, then the volume flow at different points will be like this. If the volume flow is 1.2 meter cube per second, then the pressure rise will be 48.55 kilopascal. Then if the volume flow is 0.00033, then it will be 46 kilopascal. So similarly for different volume flow rates, we can specify how much my pressure rise will be there. So it was at a speed 1450. Suppose my plant also runs at a speed of 2900. So this was 50% capacity. Now the pump is running in 100% full capacity. So that also I can show here. Like at this, at different volume flow rates, how much pressure rise will be there in my pump, I can specify that. So this is one characteristic pump curve. There are normally 3, so I am moving to the 2. Now we will also specify the hydraulic efficiency. So at different volume flow rates, what will be the hydraulic efficiency of the pump, that also I will specify here. Then the net positive suction head available. Similarly, like for volume flow, what should be the NPSH that I can give. So here I will specify the density of the, let's say in this case I'm using water. So 990 around 1000 I have specified the density. Then mechanical efficiency, speed factor, volume flow factor of the pump, pressure rise factor, they all are assigned as unit. So this is how I am going to create pump curves according to my input data. For that I must know my input, or else input means at what speed and what is the operating range of the pump, that I should need to know. And this is how we will configure the pump chart to the pump, and instead of using this pump we can use the variable speed pump for the purpose because of its flexibility. So I think I have covered almost whatever I plan to cover today in the session.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. If someone wants to ask some question, you can put that in the chat box, or please unmute yourself and ask the questions. Any query? You can unmute yourself and ask.
Participants, we are going to wrap up the session in the next 5 to 10 minutes. If any query or any doubt is there, please unmute yourself or put in the chat box. Because at 4 we will wrap up the session. Thank you.
Then okay, no problem.
I would like to add something.
Okay.
If anyone is there who's really interested for the detailed of the particular topics. So please feel free to tell or please feel free to ask the India Soft teams, and we will arrange a separate webinar or separate meeting with the particulars. Any extra requirements or something is there, please let us know.
So we do have the differential pressure, differential dynamic measuring instrument. By using this, you can measure the various properties between two nodes. Just for what various properties we measure between two nodes. Yes. And different.
Okay, there is no queries. Thank you so much, participant, for your valuable time. Please fill the feedback form. Okay, we are now wrapping this session. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vishwanath sir. Thank you, Jayesh
Thank you.
sir. Thank you, participants.